Hey guys, welcome back to the Interceptor. We are here with another Alliance War video. This is going to be Season 57, War number 12, and AOH has matched. I honestly forget. You know what? It's been so long, I don't even remember who we faced, so I'm going to wait to see until this loads. I have been super busy. I have been trying to catch up, but today we're going to finally get the last war out, and then I'll have the season rewards open or out right after this. We matched XMN-P. And we are going to be starting out here on Path 3, Section 1. Also, something about this war, if you don't know, if you haven't seen my war videos so far this season, I have not died in the first 11 wars. On either account. So I have 2 accounts in Tier 1, both in AOH, both in the same BG. I have not died this season a single time. I am deathless. Which means that if I end this war without dying, I get a deathless season. So we're going to do our best to make that happen. However, it's going to get a little bit difficult in a few fights, as you'll see. So right here, we have this Venom. And this is on the bleed node with the glancing, and while Angela does reduce the duration down to 0, the deep wounds mastery will always make it be a flat 0.5 seconds. So you're going to see that later in the war too when we use Angela against hazard shift bleed, is that she just can't reduce it down to 0, unfortunately. So when he does have an armor up, we are going to be getting bled, but the regen is going to take care of that for the most part, and we are going to get most of the health back. But we actually get pretty terrible RNG in this fight for armor ups, because I feel like he was just getting them constantly, and it was just so annoying. And then, yeah, here he does go down, but we did lose 20% of our health just to deep wounds ticks. We do have this Enchantress fight, and this is the same fight I've taken at least 15 times in the last 2 seasons, probably more, probably like 18 times if I had to guess. And this one's no different. I do take a little bit more block damage, and I think I do get hit in this fight. Also, for some reason, at the very start, I mismanage my I mismanaged my hits, and I am actually going to lose my combat power rate, so I'm not going to be able to throw specials a lot in this fight. And yeah, that's not super nice. Also, we get the DOT on us there because I accidentally mistimed dashing out of the special one. And there, that SP2 actually did a lot more damage on block than I was expecting. But yeah, now we're just trying to hit her a bunch. I did speed this up by quite a lot, just because I really do not have the time to sit here through a 3-minute fight that I've already shown 15 times at least. And then, yeah, we just need to get one more intercept, and the fight is going to go down, and that's the only fight we're using Titania for, so I'm happy with how that went. But we do have Path 9, Section 2 here, which is the hazard shift fight. We have Mysterio on the first node, where we are using Angela. And you'll notice in this war that I do have an Odin on my Angela, 2 of the 3 buffs. And that's just because we had a player back up in section 1, so I had him place the pre-fights on Venom. And then he used one for one of his own fights that he needed. I think he needed the shock pre-fight for taking node, whatever node he took. I don't know what it was. He needed the shock for something. Anyways. But yeah, this is going to be a really straightforward fight. My Angela, by the way, is high enough sig that I don't need Odins. However, I just wanted them because we had them and they weren't useful anywhere else. So I was like, you know what? Might as well just start with 100% reduction, because what if I rolled like 3 armor ups on Venom to start out the fight, and then I just melted before I could even get my buffs up, right? That was the kind of the vision behind putting own buffs on. Also, you'll notice in this war that my Mantis is now rank 3. I did rank 3 her for this war. So she was rank 2 when I was making the assignments, and I wanted to send a rank 3 here because it was rank 4 Photon. And I'm like, you know what? she's a really good champion. I might as well just take her to rank 3. I already have her R3 on my alt, but I could not send my alt here, and we definitely wanted to send the Mantis. So I decided to take mine to rank 3. Very, very happy with that decision, and as you can see in this fight, she's going to do a really good job. I don't know why I did not do a light ending combo there, but I guess I don't need to ramp anymore, so that makes sense. SP2 is going to take her down to 25%, so we just need to get back to 1 more. I'm not even sure if we get there, honestly. We might just kill before it matters. Here we should just do a light ending combo. Oh, beta special first. That's smart. You can also just get charges from the making the debuffs fail. That's more than enough here. But yeah, looks like we're gonna get back to another special 2 to end it off. But obviously a rank 4 Mantis would have been enough damage to kill. But yeah, there we just kill with the basics before we even get to our second special 2. So really nice fight. It's actually a pretty tricky placement for Photon, so pretty good fight. And now let's get on to our minis. I believe I only have 1 mini this war, which is going to be this Red Skull, and if I solo this fight, I get a Deathless season. So we're gonna do our best. We're gonna be as careful as we can be, but because this is the bleed, we are going to take some bleed damage from deep wounds. Unfortunately, not really avoidable, and Angela is without a doubt the best option for Red Skull on this node. There are other options, but in my opinion, Angela is the best. This node here, it does have armor break immunity, so you can throw specials if you want, and you're not going to trigger the power gain. The only way you would trigger the power gain here is if you land parries, and he's reducing my ability accuracy on parries by so much that I just don't want to bother trying. These bleeds are really long, and I don't know why they're long. Maybe he has something in his kit where, in addition to deep wounds, he extends the duration of bleeds, but that wouldn't even make sense because he doesn't even inflict bleeds. I don't know, bro. I'm confused why that was so long, but you can use your heavy attack. Your heavy attack has a higher chance to crit, so it is really good against Red Skull because you're going to avoid a good amount of his armor by critting. You're going to bypass a lot of it. But yeah, even with that bleed that we are going to take in this fight, it's still not a difficult fight. It's still going to be really straightforward. We don't do a lot of damage when we don't crit, but we crit enough that it's fine. Just want to counter all the special attacks with heavies, get some heavies off in the corner here. I don't know why we did that, but it's fine. And I think a couple more heavies. I'm probably going to hit with a heavy right here. No, I should have. Oh, 1%. I could have comboed into a special. But yeah, we do get the heavy there, and that is actually going to be a Deathless season. So we have gotten 1 of 2 Deathless seasons, and now we're going to try to get the second one. So that's going to be it for my main account this war. Let's get over to my alt, and we have a Hood war today. And things are going to get interesting in this war. That's all I'm going to say. So we have the full trinity here. We have Hood, we have Mojo, and we have Strife, the best synergy team for, in my opinion, the best tactic attacker. But there's some debate to be had as to whether it's Hood or Dazzler or Purgatory, some people think, but I don't agree with that. Anyways, we are on Path 9, Section 1 here because there's a Dark Phoenix. Dark Phoenix was only in the game for the last 3 wars of this season, and I fought her in all 3 wars because they just placed her on nodes where it made sense for Hood to take her. So we are taking this Wong. This is a little bit of an annoying fight just because you're basically guaranteed to end with the crossfight here, so you are going to have to give your next opponent some power gain. But as long as we keep up the Fate Seal, we are going to be reducing the damage from, reducing the ability accuracy of Hazard Shift quite a lot. And yeah, you're just doing really good damage. As you can see, this fight is almost over. The attacker tactic is helping a lot. And at this point, I'm just like, yeah, die, bro. Like, I want to get out of this fight. if you do get hit while he has that Fury, like let's say he throws an unblockable SP2, I don't know. AI doesn't really charge heavy into specials very often, or ever, but like technically it's possible. We have Dark Phoenix here, and it is a rank 4 Dark Phoenix, as expected. And we're going to be healing Hood up. We are actually going to take a fair amount of damage in this fight, and that's because there's one point in this fight where I don't counter a special, and I don't remember exactly what the reason is why I didn't do that, but we'll see when we get to it. Hood versus Dark Phoenix is a really good matchup. One of the better matchups for Dark Phoenix literally everywhere on the map. But you're just going to want to cycle L2s, keep your Fate Seal up. You are going to fail the Unstoppable that comes from the Special 1 because you're not nullifying the buff, you're preventing it from Fate Seal. Because Fate Seal nullifies when it removes, but it does not nullify when it prevents buffs. So yeah, here I think we're going to heavy. We should probably heavy right now. Oh, I should have heavied there. I should have heavied there. I should not have baited out that L2. That was very, very dumb. Wow. Okay, that's kind of bad. Like, looking back on that decision I just made in this fight, that was really dumb. And I deserve to lose half of my health despite not getting hit in this fight for that really dumb decision. Wow. I honestly can't even explain why I did that. This, by the way, was like 2 weeks ago. Like, I'm really late putting this war video out. I have just been insanely busy. I promise I'm trying, guys. And now we're going over to Path 3. We did survive, but by the way, in the matchup of Hood versus Dark Phoenix, you have a 65% chance to fail Immortality with your Fate Seal because it reduces ability accuracy by 65%. I've taken her 3 times. I've only failed it once. Statistically, I should be failing it 2 out of 3 times on average, but got a little bit unlucky in war, and both of the last 2 times I took it, I did not bypass it, but it's okay because we survived. So now we are on to Path 3 here. This is the encroaching stun node, as well as the node where the defender gets extra attack rating for all buffs they have on them. And if you don't know, when Hood is duped, he is stun immune while he is invisible. So you just want to get up your invisibility. You do not have to be in the middle of a special attack like you do with a lot of champions to bypass encroaching stun. You just have to be stun immune, and Hood has some of the easiest access to offensive stun immunity in the entire game, if not the easiest. I mean, probably the easiest, because for Nick Fury, you need to push yourself into second life. Here we actually get stunned. The reason I get stunned is because I was just really, really dumb and I did not line stuff up well. I could have had invisibility up from my L2, but genuinely I just made a terrible decision. Almost ate a heavy there. I need to throw the special 2, but I have to wait for that second charge to go away, because if I had thrown my L2 immediately, then I would have triggered the unstoppable, put panic on myself, and then he would have hit me because my miss was disabled. So that's why we did that. So that fight went down pretty easily. I did take 1 hit, I believe, but we're fine. And now we have this Black Panther on Safeguard. This is a little bit of a strange matchup, because the way that Hood interacts with Safeguard is that when the game is calculating Hood's damage, it's all shown as one red number, but each hex detonating is actually calculated on its own. So the way that it interacts with Safeguard is that each one of those is subject to Safeguard. He does not shut down the node with ability accuracy reduction. What he does is he can do 1% for every hex on the opponent. And I don't know what I was going for there. I just lose my invuln for absolutely no reason. But we just want to cycle L2s until the number of hexes we have is greater than the percentage of health he has, and then he'll just die. At that point, it is safe to go for a heavy. Obviously, you can go for a heavy when you haven't missed a hit yet on your invisibility, because that would be guaranteed. Here, we just let it expire, but if you'll notice, it did exactly the percentage that of the number of hexes. But there's actually no reason to manually detonate it in this fight because you don't need the attack rating increase because it doesn't actually increase the attack. But yeah, I think right here we're gonna probably activate invisibility. No, we just go for an L2 and that kills, but lost a few bullets there, but we're fine. We're definitely not going to be struggling for bullets in this war whatsoever. So let's go on to our next fight here. We're going to have this Attuma on node 39. This is a fight I have already done this meta. And the interaction of Hood versus Attuma is not great for a lot of nodes. Like, for example, you can't do the matchup on Hazard Shift because instead of reducing ability accuracy by 65%, you're actually increasing it by 65%. But for nodes where you just need to fail buffs, not due to ability accuracy, he works just fine. So when you have Fate Seal up, even though the Fate Seal is not reducing his ability accuracy, it still has the effects of a Fate Seal and it will still stop the buffs. The ability accuracy reduction is just a secondary benefit. But yeah, you can also abuse the node here because Attuma is not a champion that starts with buffs, and you can gain the power gain for yourself. So we're just going to throw some L2s, cycle, rely on our power gain. You can, by the way, bait specials in this fight. He wouldn't gain anything, like literally nothing would happen. But it just kind of worked out that he didn't throw any specials in this fight, and then he just dies in 30 seconds. So yeah, we do get down to 8 bullets. The reason I was not worried about it, because obviously I could have played this fight a lot slower and ended with a lot more bullets. The reason I wasn't worried about it is because I'm fighting Sersi next. Sersi is probably, after champions like Gore and Venom, probably the next best champion for getting bullets. And right there, the game was just loading very slowly, so I decided to hit a little map reset. But we're taking node 41 Sersi. This placement does not make a lot of sense to me because this basically gets torn apart by every single tactic Mystic champion. But Sersi's going to be really straightforward here. We're going to go for some heavies at the start. If you don't know the matchup of Hood versus Sersi, the only hits that Hood has that will trigger the glancing, like do enough damage to trigger the glancing, are his crits. And Hood, when he crits, actually there it was more because I had the increased attack rating from being invisible, but if you aren't invisible is what I meant. What I was saying is that when he crits, he inflicts a stagger, and the game calculates the order in which the game calculates that stuff is it checks for it inflicts a stagger before it triggers the glancing. So unless you have a source to increase your attack rating, you're not able to trigger glancing on her unless she heavies. I'm maybe not doing the best job of explaining the matchup, but that is basically how it works. And now it's this fight. This is not a good idea. And a lot is going to go wrong in this fight. This is Sentinel on node 43. This is Hazard Shift, Shock, and Incinerate. And Sentinel has a line in his kit that I didn't know existed. And I'm going to pay the price here. So we have to wait out the power lock and stuff. I am so used to doing this matchup not on Hazard Shift that I guess I just assumed it also works on Hazard Shift. It does not. You can't do this matchup. It literally does not work. Because when Sentinel has his full analysis, he gains increased ability accuracy on shocks and incinerates. So I throw my first L2 and I'm like, whoa, 5 incinerates, that's a lot. And then I get it on my next 2 hits. I'm like, what is happening? I'm at 8. I'm going to die. I'm not going to die from these incinerates. But I'm going to get very close to dying. And at this point, I see I have 20 hexes on him. I know this is not enough to kill. There's no reason for me to go to a heavy attack here. The only chance I have to solo the fight is to go for another L2 and then a heavy. And this is the line right here, the third line here. When analysis is complete, shock, incinerate, gain 50% increased duration and 100% increased ability accuracy, which means instead of a 40% chance on hazard shift, it is 140%, which I then reduce by 65%, making it, what, an 85%? Sorry, it's 40 and then 140, 75. So when I have Fate Seal up, instead of reducing it down to, I think it becomes like 16% normally, 40 goes down to 16, you reduce it by only, you actually, like, it results in the ability accuracy actually being higher than normal. So that fight was impossible. There's nothing I could have done to survive. It turns out that Prowler works for that fight, and the other officer in my BG had actually assigned that matchup earlier in the season, and I didn't know that because the person taking that fight actually had the champion. I just literally did not know that they'd taken the fight before because I was not there when that war was being planned. It's like maybe the whole season that I missed, which is just unfortunate, but, you know, I signed it to myself, so I have literally only myself to blame. This fight right here, Rank 4 Arcade, this is an absolute joke. This is node 47. This is the node that I always say you have to place someone hood-proof. Arcade is, like, incredibly weak to Hood. Hood is one of the best non-cosmic counters to Arcade. He just almost hard counters him, like, he's a good enough counter that's not quite a hard counter, but a very, very strong counter. And as you can see, Rank 4 Arcade goes down in 39 seconds. So that is going to be it for my War season. Unfortunately, I did not get the Deathless season. I just wanted to show this right here because quick shout out to Tony Stark from the Alliance XK9 for putting this together. This is actually the deaths of all of the alliances. And because we lost this war, we actually won this war, but it was too late for us to make Masters. As you can see in the top right, we ended 3rd place in Platinum 1 with a total of 129 deaths. But what was interesting here is if you look at some of the alliances in Masters, we beat half of them. We had less deaths than 2 of the alliances in the top 10, DD13 and XK9, and we had less deaths than SSX, Chaos, LOXC, MKTT, DH, Lena, Evo, and Next. All but 2 of the second bracket Masters. Which is just absolutely insane. In total, there was only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 alliances in Masters with lower deaths. We had the 11th best season when we're talking deaths only, but because we had a 5-7 record, because we kept losing 1 and 2 death wars in all our losses, except for the GT40 one, because they stomped us, and so did 4 Loki. Because of that, we don't make Masters. There were literally alliances that got the same rewards as us that died almost triple the number of deaths. Almost triple. DSVG had 321 deaths and ended in the same bracket. Almost triple. It's just crazy. Also, we did lose some points for exploration in one war because a guy itemed out. So we didn't actually have 129 deaths. I think it was probably around 115, 120. I don't know, somewhere around there. But still rough. Still rough. Sucks to not make Masters, obviously, especially with us having statistically a better season than 9 of the 20 alliances that were in Masters in every aspect other than record, obviously, because we just kept losing tight wars to them. So not that not that anyone doesn't deserve Masters. I'm not saying that in any way, but it is unfortunate if you look at us. We have so many less deaths than everyone else in Platinum 1. I think the next closest to us was like 50 higher. So, yeah, it just sucks, but we'll move on from it, try to do our best. Let's talk about my stats this season. So, unfortunately, the Alliance did end with a record of 5-7, and I did lose my Deathless season on my alt account in the second last fight of my season. So I had 1 death total, 0 deaths on my main, 1 death on my alt, and my PSR was 155 out of 156 fights soloed. On main, it was 62 out of 62 fights soloed, and on alt, it was 93 out of 94 fights soloed. So, unfortunately, because I did die on my second last fight, my Deathless streak does get reset to 0, so it's just the arcade fight, a Deathless streak of 1. But I did get up to a 162 fight Deathless streak before that death, which makes it the second highest Deathless streak I have ever had, my highest ever being a 193 fight streak. So pretty cool. I'm definitely not upset. Main account is currently on a streak of 63 fights because obviously I didn't die there, so that does not get reset. And my alt account is at a whopping streak of 1 fight. And that, by the way, got up to a 100, and that account, by the way, got up to a 107 fight Deathless streak before dying. Also, this is my 4th Deathless season ever, and it's actually been a while since my last one. So my first Deathless season was season 27, which was actually the first season in which I got War Champion. And then I got another Deathless season 4 seasons later in season 31. I had my 3rd Deathless season ever in season 42, 11 seasons later. And then 15 seasons after that, over a year, about a year and a half later, I got my 4th Deathless season ever in season 57. So I'm still pretty happy with how I played the season. I mean, 56 fights and only 1 death. That's pretty damn good. I'm pretty happy with that, especially since I took a bunch of bosses as well. But that is going to be it for today. I hope you all enjoyed the video, and I will see you all in the next one. Have a great day, everyone. Bye.